Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisahealyourself, and today I want to discuss the difference and how you use journaling, somatic tracking, brain retraining, and thinking positive, like positive affirmations and the law of attraction. We've heard of all of these things working, right, for people to heal themselves, but they all seem so different. Like if you are attracting what you want using the law of attraction and using the law of vibration and the law of assumption and really putting yourself in that feeling, you know, the way something like Joe Dispenza talks about in his healings. And then you look at journaling, you know, somebody who like Nicole Sachs, who talks really deeply about journaling and journal speak, right? They seem so different. One, you are ignoring all those feelings. The other ones you're expressing. And then we have things like somatic tracking, where you're sitting in the present moment and you're allowing the feelings and the sensations to all come and be felt and pass through, right? And then, so we have all these different techniques, right? We have all these different techniques. How do we use them? How are they the same? Like, this is all the same. You're wondering, like, how can I ignore and be in the state and the feeling of health and embody health and at the same time journal, or at the same time do somatic tracking and allowing these sensations? Like, it doesn't make sense to me, right? So how do we do that? How do we use brain retraining when we're focusing on our future creation and the things that we want? We're not supposed to be focusing on, you know, our emotions and our journaling and somatic tracking and feelings and sensations. How does this work together? Okay, so if you have been confused, and I know I used to be constantly confused over this, let me put your mind at ease. These are all healing techniques that work to resolve and to move you towards healing. So yes, you need to be using them all, and no, they don't conflict. Let's get into it and let me show you. Okay, so maybe you're doing Annie Hopper's DNRS, or you know, you're doing something like that, brain retraining. But then you're also involved in the TMS world, and you know you're supposed to be thinking psychologically and allowing your anger and all these feelings that are repressed to rise. And you're super confused about that. And then you're thinking about the law of attraction and the law of assumption, and you're trying to assume health. It gets so confusing. I know, I understand, I get it. And you're thinking, somatic tracking, how does this work? And all these people are having healings, and then for all these different techniques, and they seem to be so opposite, so polar opposite at the core. Let me say, it's all in how you use them and when you use them. So the key is when you use them. Okay, the goal, the highest, is always to raise our vibration. So when we're talking about the law of vibration, or even the law of assumption, when we think from the end, when we try to put ourselves in the feeling of having what it would feel like if we were healthy, if we were that person, how would we be? How would we act in this world? And if we assume it, or if we use the law of vibration to try to raise our vibration to a frequency that matches health, right, where we're getting into those higher frequencies, and if we can be in that, then health is the natural byproduct. So the longer we can stay in those vibrations and those feelings. So that's ultimately the goal. That's ultimately the end goal. So when we're using the law of manifestation, the law of vibration, the law of assumption, and brain retraining, all of which I talk here about my channel and go into depth on, so you can look back up on any of those topics. Those are all techniques to get us to that end state, our future creation of the version of ourselves that we want, the healed version of ourselves that is living the life of their dreams and feels good in their body, feels amazing, has great relationships, can enjoy their life, can be passionate, creative, all the things that we want. We are trying to get to that state. That is the state. So sometimes people skip everything else and they just go there. That seems the obvious, right? If you can raise your vibration, if you can continue to use brain retraining and future visualization and creation and raising your vibrational state and thinking from the end and really embodying the person that your healed self would be, and the personality traits and beliefs, right? And the things that you would do. If you can embody that, that's great. You can go straight to that because that is the end goal. The problem is some of us have been stuck in this frequency for so long. Depression, anxiety, overwhelming symptoms, hopelessness, helplessness, these low frequencies. We have trauma, right? Childhood trauma maybe, or the trauma of just being sick for so long, and the deep feelings of trauma and shame and guilt and loneliness and hopelessness that come from that. If you're stuck in this state, it's very hard to just change your state and raise your vibration. It's very hard to just say, I don't want to be feeling these thoughts, and change to something new, because they're a habit, they're a belief, right? They're habitual. We have limiting beliefs that are stopping us, and we have trauma that's there. We have feelings, emotions that are stored in the body, and when you have an emotional state, you have your behaviors match that state, your thoughts match that state. So if you're in this state of hopelessness or helplessness, frustration, like these deep states, you might be able to get a little bit higher, maybe even to neutral if you try really, really hard, but you're unlikely going to just flip it and be able to raise that vibration or think from the end, because the feelings and the sensations are so overwhelming and so powerful that we just can't get there. And that's how we baby step it. And also, if we deny what we're feeling, if we say, I'm feeling hopeless, but I'm gonna pretend I'm not, we're just resisting it, okay? That's resistance. We're resisting and fighting and trying to change and fix what we feel and deny it. And when we do that, when we aren't able to get to that state organically, when we are just denying and fighting what's there in front of us, these deep emotional, really negative, low vibrational states, we're in massive resistance. And whatever we resist is going to persist. By law, it's going to persist. Whatever we deny and we reject and we try not to think about and we are focusing our energy on, so really we're actually, the law of attraction is backfiring us, because even though we say I don't want these negative thoughts, I don't want these negative emotions, I'm trying to get rid of them, we're just focused on what we don't want. And the law of manifestation basically is backfiring on us, because it's giving us more of what we don't want. We're attracting the very thing that we don't want because we're focused on it. Even if you have good intentions, like I'm trying to focus on this so that I can get rid of it, you're just really attracting more of it. So if you resist it, it persists because you're focused on it and you're actually attracting the very thing that you don't want. You're in that vibrational state. So the law of vibration says you're going to get more of that same vibration because you're sitting in that vibration and trying to fight it, which is adding resistance, which is even more of what you're getting. So when you are in those states and you can't future think, you can't organically change your state to a more positive one or find relief in some way to just bring you up the vibrational scale or towards the end or thinking to the end, or you can't do any of these things because you're just in resistance and you're just really having overwhelming emotions and feelings, that's when we need to use the other techniques, because we don't want to resist them at that point. So if we're having emotional, if we feel these sensations, physical sensations as emotions, and we know we're feeling hopeless or helpless, then we journal, we cry, we allow it. We allow it to be exactly what it is, and we express it through journaling, through this journal speaking, through everything that we can. If we're having overwhelming sensations, we don't really feel these negative emotions, but we're feeling overwhelming sensations and symptoms, we sit and we use somatic tracking to allow the sensations to come and to flood us and to just try to observe them in a neutral way. So we use these techniques, both are techniques. When we're really getting to the heart of the emotions, remember, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Energy in motion, right? That's what emotion is, energy in motion. So these energies are stuck in our body. These emotions are stuck in our body. And when we just allow the sensations to wash through with a neutral observation through somatic tracking, eventually they're going to flow. As long as we're not in resistance, we're not going to get stuck. It's not going to be stuck, right? But if we're in resistance, we just sit with them for as long as it takes for us not to be, and we will see a little bit of a shift. I'm not saying massive here, but if we can climb the ladder just a little bit, that's good. When we journal and we get out all our feelings and our emotions, we allow them out. We have a release. And then we should see some shift again, some emotional shift, which changes our vibrational state, which changes our thoughts. Right? Because if we get into a new vibrational state, our emotions automatically shift and our thoughts automatically shift. So by using journaling when you're really stuck, when you're feeling overwhelmed, really hopeless, helpless, sad, when you have strong emotions, use journaling. Get into it deeply. Allow them to release. When you're having overwhelming sensations, like a massive migraine or body aches or any kind of sensations that's unpleasant and very extreme, use somatic tracking and try to allow them in a peaceful way to be there and to pass through. We're trying to not add resistance. That is adding fuel to the fire. You never want to add fuel to the fire. So once you use these techniques, which seem opposite to what you should be doing, but actually they're the very thing that you need to be doing when you're stuck, when your emotions or sensations are stuck. We need to use techniques that help them shift, that help them unstuck, okay? Once they shift and once you can come up the ladder just a little bit, you're feeling a little better, a little less intense, more neutral, slight relief. When we get this from those techniques, journaling, somatic tracking, anything that's really meant to, focus on the feelings, emotions, and sensations, when we're using any kind of technique that does that, that's what it does. It brings some relief, a little bit of a shift. And when we can get that shift, now we can make a choice to choose to use the other side, the future, the law of attraction, law of assumption, law of vibration, law of manifestation, brain retraining, all of these things, those techniques now, to do something that makes us feel a little better, a little more relaxed, a little less stressed, a little happier. Maybe we can now go for a walk and feel a little happier, or put on some music and try to uplift our spirits, or sit and do some breathing and really just try to feel at peace in the moment. Play with your dog, pet your dog, call someone, do something, watch a funny show. Maybe now we can shift, and maybe we can't get all the way there, like I assume, the law of assumption, which is the top, which is what we're all striving for, but you can get a little bit higher. Maybe you can try then your brain retraining techniques and your scripts. Maybe you can try manifesting and using positive affirmations and visualizations, at this point, or even just taking actions in the present moment that make us feel better until we get into a state that's feeling good. Maybe you never get to a state that's feeling good, but feeling more good than you usually do. And when we get in that state, that's when we get into the state where we feel as good as we can feel given our current circumstances and situation, because I'm sure you have a range of your lows and your highs within the situation of your health spectrum right now. When you get to the highs, that's when we really want to use the law of visualization, our brain retraining techniques, the law of assumption. That's when we want to try to use those manifestations, those assumptions, because we're in a better vibration and we're going to attract more of that. We're going to attract more of the top of where we are. And that's what we want to do. We want to shift and start not creating as much of our lows and creating more of our highs, right? And maybe it's still not as high as you want it to be, but eventually you'll create more and more of those and they will improve and get better. And then you can use those techniques when you're at the top of your range and you keep creating more and higher. So that's how you do it. So a lot of times people are very confused. Well, how is it that I'm supposed to be visualizing, but I'm also supposed to be journaling? Like, I don't get it. It's not necessarily, these are techniques, remember. They're all moving us closer to the vibration of being healed, right? Being whole, being healed, being the person, living the life, like really living the life that we want to live as a healed person. And so it's all a spectrum of getting us there. So it's not a matter of that they're in opposition to each other. It's a matter of when we use them. When is critical, right? When and how we are using these techniques. So remember, when you're in your lowest negative vibration, using the law of manifestation and our brain retraining and our law of, assumption, all of these things, it's not really doing you any good because you are stuck in a low vibration. And so you have no feeling or no connection to what you're trying to visualize. And yeah, it's still better than nothing, but it's not really going to help you shift your state, your emotion, your vibration. That's really what we're looking for. We're looking for a shift in feeling, a shift in state, a shift in sensations, a shift in emotions. We want to move to more relief. So if it's not working for you because you're just stuck too low, then you have to accept, fully surrender to what's there and allow, let go of all resistance. That's the first step to feeling more soothed, to feeling more relief. And when we feel that, that has shifted. That shifts our vibration, that shifts our state. And now we can use something that gets us a little closer. So it's a spectrum of emotions, but it's also a spectrum of techniques that we use to get us to where we want to be. So I hope that this has really explained it well. Remember, disease is dis-ease, right? You are not at ease, dis-ease in the body. So your goal, your number one goal, is to get into a state of ease, feeling a little more relief, feeling a little less stressed out, a little less in pain, a little less hopeless, a little less helpless, a little less sad, right? More at ease, more and more and more at ease. So any thought, feeling, action, anything that you can think or do that gets you a little more ease, a little more relief, and a little less resistance is changing the state. And when we change that state, we're actually using the law of vibration. Now we're actually able to move and shift and make a change. And when we do that change, we're a little closer to accessing even better changes and better thoughts and better feelings and better emotions. So then we can make better shifts from there. And when we move up a little bit higher, we can move better shifts from there. So it's all happening in the moment. It's your moment by moment ease, your moment by moment relief, your moment by moment state, your moment by moment emotions, feelings, and actions. We're just trying to ease every little thing in the moment to climb us up to the rung to the law of assumption that really says I am healed. I am living in a healed body because I feel healed. I feel the emotions, the thoughts, the sensations, and the vibrations of someone who is healed. That's where we're headed to. But they're not in opposition. All these techniques are not in opposition. They are different points of the spectrum. It's a matter of when you use them, how you use them. When is key. So I hope this video has been helpful in explaining this to you, something that I really fought with for years and years. Like, should I be doing it this way or this way? I don't know. Well, you can do them all because you can use top-down approaches, which is your brain telling your body to feel and think certain things, or you can use bottom-up approaches, which is your body trying to communicate to your brain the way that you feel, the way that you want it to feel. So you should be using top-down approaches, bottom-up approaches, and you should also be using manifestation techniques and brain retraining techniques, along with somatic experiencing, as well as journaling and emotional release. None of them are in opposition. They are all the way you heal, and it's how we get there, and it's what we choose to use in each moment, depending on what we're feeling, what we're resonating with, where we are on the scale, and what we need to climb a little bit higher towards ease and a little bit further away from dis-ease. So I hope it's been helpful, and I will see you in the next video.